Okay, well, basically what we're looking at is a three-piece knife set that I just finished. I spent, I don't know how many weeks, but over 47 days on it. It's been the most time-consuming project I've ever done, as well as I learned so much on it. There is, I think, 4 or 5 things that on this set that I've never done in my life before. So it was a huge learning experience and had a huge learning curve, and that's why it took so long. But I'm extremely proud of it. Some of the things that I learned are curved fit up on the bolster. That took me over a week to do. It's sterling silver and bronze with some little stippling and some little engraving that I did. It's also slightly raised and rounded, which is pretty hard to do, especially on a curved fit up like that. The reason that the curved fit up is so hard is it's very organic, and you have to make jigs and do it all by hand and eye, and lots of test fitting, like hours and hours of test fitting. And then I got to do it 3 times. So on every single piece of this puzzle, basically, I had to do it 3 times. And each time it gets faster and faster, which was really fun to see that progress. Another element that I have never done before is these silver butt caps on them. Usually I just leave the wood, usually I just leave the butt of the knife straight wood, and it's really hard to get basically metal sheet, this is also sterling silver, on the butt of a knife and have it adhere properly and also fit properly. And just to make it even more difficult on myself, I made it curved with a flat as well, which was so hard to do, but I'm so proud of how it turned out. I love how it has a slight little wood bit here with a silver bit to protect it if it drops or anything like that. And then these brass peened over pins, as well as some engraving, which comes with its own challenges. I made engraving chisel out of a old file that I had laying around, and I just Googled a picture of what an engraving chisel looks like and ground it to shape. And that was how I learned to engrave, which is totally ridiculous. But yeah, I spent probably a day or 2 practicing engraving and trying to figure it out, and then did the final pieces. But you can't engrave, it's really hard to engrave a curve like this, just because you have to match. There's so many different angles involved, and I'm doing it all by hand with this little hammer. So it's like thousands of little taps like this, and you have to set your angle properly as well as following curves. So it's like a crazy geometric challenge, as well as following it with your hammer and matching that angle. So huge learning curve there, but super fun. This is the Nakiri in the set. It's the only one that has, well, it has a different pattern than the other 2. Beautiful pattern on this one. It's super organic, super flowy. It was totally experimental. I'd never done a pattern like this before. And I was just playing around, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I especially love this bit right here. I love how those 2 mush together and swirl that way and that way. One of the huge challenges, and another thing I had to learn on this set, was figuring out how to integrate sayas, which is basically the sheath of these knives, into a block. But that was a huge challenge, and something that comes with that challenge is that these knives have to go in their specific slots, and all 3 of them are completely different and slightly different thicknesses, and so they're all completely custom carved with chisels as well as a router. If you put this knife in this slot, it clearly does not go in, and this one doesn't fit either. And my workaround for that was, I didn't even think of it until I started making the block, but I have these 3 different patterns carved or engraved into the butts of the knives. This one has a tree, which corresponds with a little button on the block, which is also a tree, which also corresponds with a little tree on the pin for the saya. Each one has its own pattern. Like this one has clouds, this one has what I like to call like fire, or it kind of reminds me of almost like a shooting star, or I don't know. But each one corresponds with which slot they should go into and which saya they should go into. So it's basically foolproof. This was also a complete experimental pattern, as is with most of the patterns that I do. It's got these big silver stars, 4 of them on this one. And my goal with this one was kind of like a clashing between dark and light. So you got these big bands of black and silver in it. This one has the exact same pattern as that other one. Also 4 repeating big stars on it. And just the longest knife of the set as well. The bolster on these knives are one of the things that I'm most proud of. This curved fit up with this raised silver spacer, as well as this textured feel. Feels super nice in the hand. It's nice for a pinch grip, flows in super nicely, super smooth. And having that textile, like the texture in your hand feels super nice with that raised silver. And I also just love the way it looks. Like the elements of bronze and silver and walnut in this, I think all play really well together. The block on this is something that I have never done before. And honestly, is something that I am extremely proud of. I've never done any sort of wood carving in my life, let alone making a knife block. So, let alone having sides that fit perfectly into it. So there's a bunch of new things, but I'm super happy with how this carving turned out on the sides. I think it's super flowy, almost like a little bit like fire, ripples, and water. Originally, I was just going to leave it square, but it just looked a little too chunky and didn't quite flow with the curves. I think the grain matching turned out extremely good on the top. If you look right here, these just slot together perfectly, which I'm super proud of. It's kind of hard to do. I'm extremely proud of how this piece turned out, and I hope it finds its way to a good home. I mean, I kind of poured my heart out into this thing. It took a ridiculous amount of time, but yeah, I couldn't be more happy.